Hello and welcome to another edition of the Saintly Sounder, your source for all things FIFA. Alright, based on the request of some of you, I'm going to be doing a formation guide today as the 4-3-1-2, a formation that I find to be very, very effective if you have the right players. It might not be as free-flowing or dynamic as some of the other formations, but it is still really, really good. Alright, so here's the squad I'm going to be using, but keep in mind that you do not need this expensive of a squad for this formation to work. As someone drew attention to, one of the first squads that I ever fell in love with was a 4-3-1-2 with Aubameyang and Royce up top. Alright, so first and foremost, you need a striker who's going to be getting you a majority of your goals, and here I am using Ronaldo. Again, you don't need someone as expensive as him to get the job done, but he is the prototype, a beast FC, fast, strong, good shooting, perfect work rates, just about anything you could want in a striker. He's going to be scoring a majority of your goals. The rest of the players should be able to pinch in, but this is the guy. If that left-sided striker, the one you're requiring to score a lot of your goals, isn't getting the goals, this formation will not work. The other really important thing to note is the defensiveness of the three center mids. Here we have Matic, Ramirez, and Toure, all with well over 70 in the defensive stats. You're going to want this because all three are going to be asked to defend quite often. They're going to interchange quite a bit, even with perfect instructions, so keep that in mind. You could run into a lot of trouble if your right center mid or left center mid doesn't have high defensive stats, because on occasion they are going to be one of the last men back, and it could really hurt you on a counter. The other really important thing to note is the center attacking mid. This is a player that, more so than almost any other formation in the game, this center attacking mid is going to have to be asked to score quite a bit, so keep that in mind. You need a player who can score, assist, and dribble well. Alright, so here are the instructions for the strikers and the center attacking mid. The first player is the scorer, the striker, the Ronaldo type, the Beast FC. You want him set to cut passing lanes. That way your opponent can't play out of the back without some kind of pressure. This is the guy you want to set to get in behind. This is the guy that's going to be probing your opponent's back line. And then you want him set to balanced. Although this formation is narrow, this player should, along with his fellow striker, be able to get wide when needed. You don't want to set him to drift wide to begin with, otherwise you're going to lose some of the scoring opportunities, and you don't want him to stay central for the same reason. The second striker is what I like to call the support striker. It's a Benzema, a Lewandowski, those type of guys with a little bit higher passing stats. That's because this player isn't going to be trying to get in behind as much. If they do, that's okay. That's why you don't have him set to target man. But you play him balanced, so more often than not, if your center mid needs a long ball to feet, that player will be there. You also want him set to cut passing lanes. That way both strikers are doing the exact same thing. That way you can really double down on preventing your opponent from playing it around his back line. The center attacking mid, now this is going to depend on the size, strength, dribbling, or shooting ability of your center attacking mid, but in general I like to roll with all balanced. If you have get forward, what you tend to find is that on occasion that center attacking mid is going to be the one leading the attack. You don't want that. You don't want a weaker 80 pace guy trying to lead your attack, especially when you're going to tend to have a much faster, stronger striker that you're really going to want to take those through balls. In the squad I was demoing, you would not want James Rodriguez trying to beat three defenders for pace. You're going to want to leave that up to a Ronaldo or maybe even a Benzema. So I leave him on balanced. That also allows him to be more of an outlet ball against a high-pressure opponent. He's normally chilling just on the edge of your own third to midfield. That way he can really link up your attack. Alright, so the midfield instructions look simple enough, all balanced at right center mid and left center mid. That's because you really want these guys to be your engine room. They're going to be getting back on defense and attacking. But when you keep in mind that the ideal right center mid or left center mid has high work rates, it kind of limits your options. The Juve midfield has a perfect balance, although Pogba has high medium work rates. So what this means is you're going to have to adjust on the other side if you can't make the work rates perfect. That being said, you should be okay if you have to go with a high medium guy playing right center mid or left center mid. Matter of fact, Pogba can play that position very, very well. Just be aware that it's going to leave you a little bit more vulnerable at times. I would be careful though. Do not play a guy like Isco at right center mid. You're going to be sacrificing too much on defense. That player you're not going to get as much out of on offense anyway, and it really could hurt you. And your center mid really is a hybrid. You want him to be playing that holding mid role, so you're going to want him to stay back while attacking. That is really to give you an anchor to prevent counterattacks. And even with that said, there's still going to be times where you're going to see your center mid bombing up the field. And this is just to try to prevent against it. It's still going to happen. That's part of the reason why you want your right center mid and your left center mid to have high work rates, so that can kind of mitigate the issue that you're going to have if your center mid decides to get up the field. When it works perfectly, what happens is if you get accidentally hit out on the counter, say you lose the ball in a bad area, a lot of the time you're going to look back and you're going to have all three center mids behind the ball, and that really neutralizes any attack your opponent's going to have. And that really ties into the goal of your midfield. Your goal in your midfield should be to sacrifice nothing on defense and as little on offense as possible. There aren't many guys who are going to have both amazing defensive stats as well as great attacking stats. Vidal and Toure are really the only super top options, but you can sacrifice a little on offense because you should be able to get enough out of those front three, but your real goal should be still to solidify that defense. With that theme of really building from the back, you're going to want all four of your defenders set to stay back while attacking. This is really with the goal of creating a fortress in the back line, really to prevent counterattacks. Your front three are really your main offensive generators. Anything you get out of anybody else is an extreme plus. With that in mind, you want to be the one who chooses when your left back and right back attack. You don't want the AI doing that for you. They tend to make baffling decisions sometimes even with the instructions. The last thing you want is to have 60% possession, which this formation is insanely easy to do, and then get hit on the counter with only your two center backs against one of their Doombias or Ibarbos, and then you're just going to get smoked and you really didn't deserve to lose. This tries to prevent that. When you have all four set to stay back, it can really fortify your defense. Alright, so here are the key players. I mean, really, it's not that hard. It looks a lot harder than it is, but you need a striker who can get you at least 1.5 points per game. However that is, whatever fits your playstyle, you need a guy that gets that much because you are relying on that person to be so much of your offense that you are going to want that. Your support striker really is up to you. They're still going to get a fair share of goals, a fair share of looks. Just be aware that they're not going to be the one streaking down the field on a 40-yard through ball most of the time. Instead, they're going to be that guy sitting in a little bit deeper. You need your CCM to have high defensive work rates. Don't put Iniesta there or Pirlo. It's just a recipe for disaster. I know some people get away with that deep-lying playmaker. If you are, I urge you to use Xabi Alonso. That way you don't sacrifice anything on defense. And then you want the high work rates. It's absolute must. This is a player that you're really wanting to link your center backs with your center mids and center attacking mids. This is you don't want to get hit out on the counter because you messed up the work rates of your CCM. A lot of people overlook that. Your right center mid and your left center mid need to be all-arounders. At least 65 plus defending, preferably more. Off the top of my head, Pogba is about as low defensive stats as you really want to go because he can contribute enough on the offensive side. But Toure, Vidal, Marquisio, Ramirez, all those type of players are the kind you want to look for. Kevin Prince, Boateng, these are the guys that can play your right center mid and your left center mid very, very, very well. That's what you need to look for in terms of stats, in terms of work rates. Again, if you have a high medium guy on the right, make sure you don't have a high medium guy on the left. You're really trying to keep your defense as strong as possible because, again, the goal should be to create as powerful of a front three as possible so you're not relying on your center mids as much. And then lastly, you need your center backs to be able to handle being isolated. That also kind of ties into work rates because you don't want only one center back being there, but don't put like a Skradel or someone who could get blown by potentially if you get caught out of the counter. Even with all these instructions, like I said, again, there's going to be that time where there's only two defenders, and you really don't want a slow guy going against a Sturridge or a Doumbia because that could really just kill any momentum. This formation tends to dominate games. I dominate possession when I'm using this formation. It can really pin your opponent deep, so you don't want to get hit out on the counter because that's just the worst feeling in the world. So be aware, you need good center backs. Don't skimp. Don't try to save on by buying a poor center back. Really put some thought into building your back line. And then, of course, a good keeper. I've absolutely loved Courtois. You want a keeper who, if you do get countered and give up a shot, you still have a fair shot of not giving up a goal. Alright, so as always, if you found this at all interesting or helpful, like and subscribe. I'm on Twitch at the Saintly Sounder and on Twitter at the Red Death 329. If you have a formation you want to see me review, I can give it a go. Just leave it in the comments or hit me up on Twitch when I'm on. Again, I do announce my Twitch streams on Twitter at the moment because my travel schedule is just absolutely bonkers. Until next time, see you on the pitch.